morning and welcome to the conference call today, our training webinar series. My name is Eric and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Today's session is going to be covering our Mitel Connect client, MiVoice Connect client. The MiVoice Connect client's powerful yet easy to use tool. Many of you have these things. It's the unified communications and collaborations offering that comes with your MiVoice Connect platform. Lots of built-in collaboration tools, instant messaging, audio, video, desktop sharing, and the like. And so we find sometimes that our customers maybe haven't fully deployed this across the organization. And so this is just a reminder of some of the great technology that is already included in many of your systems. So today's session will be led by Eric, and we will turn it over now. Eric, take it away.
All right, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, as Eric said. Let me get everything where it needs to be. So give me 1 second. All right, so the Connect client, for those, for people who do not have it, this is what is currently in place as the unified communications device that can be used on your desktop computer. The precursor to this for ShoreTel was what we called the communicator, and then way before that, it was called the call manager. So this is what we use on the Connect platform. Where I'm going to start, kind of the view that I like to start on, because something I've seen in a lot of organizations, even after training, one of the most important screens for me, as far as when you are using this to kind of toggle between different items, will be your main screen where your name and extension and full, if you have a DID, will be on here as well. And what this screen here, and the way I got to this was clicking on my name where it says available. This brings up this secondary pane that will show me the options I have available to me as far as primary assignment of my extension. So for my current setup in my environment, you will see that I've got 3. I have a desk phone. I'm not going to click any of these because if I do, we'll disconnect here. But I have a desk phone, my soft phone, and then my external assignment. This is the absolute easiest way for users to toggle in between the types of communication devices they're going to use for their account. Right below that, there is a secondary window inside of this pane that shows my conference bridge that's associated with my account. For those people that are using the service appliance, which is a device inside of the infrastructure here, all users in Connect that are assigned to the bridge, which enables both conference bridge access and also instant messaging access, they will be assigned a personalized conference ID, both organizer and participant code, and also a link that provides web sharing. This also enables you to quickly share your screen from here, which is part of the Connect platform. We'll kind of cover that here in a little bit. Now, kind of moving into the left-hand side of your Connect client pane. For those that are familiar with Communicator, or if you're not, the section right here that we have that says name or number, that is your quick dialer access portal. This will show some things like if you've integrated with some of your, if you've integrated your phone into your Outlook account, there's some integration there that will bring some of your cell phone contacts in there. But also this is a place where you can search your company directory. So Eric Bowling introduced himself earlier. If I wanted to search for Eric Bowling's name, here he is. It does show him on the phone as he is dialed into this particular phone call. And then if we want additional information, we can go into there. We can look at his info with his extension, his email address. We can look at our instant message history. We can look at our phone call history and also any voicemails he might have left us. Also through here, if I wanted to share my screen with him, this is something that I just mentioned a little bit previously. The conference bridge, which is found on the Surface appliance. Also enables really quick screen sharing that I can do just on a phone call. So if I wanted to call Eric on his personal extension, share my screen, I can do that. I can also add participants to my calls if I'm on the phone with him. And then we also have ability to do things like transferring, if we're on an active call.
Eric, I use this a lot of times when I'm working on projects with folks. So if I've got an RFP that I'm reviewing, or we're reviewing a spreadsheet, a lot of times I will call folks, and it doesn't matter where they are, whether they're in this office or one of our other offices, to do a quick screen share, and it allows us to quickly just look at the same thing. Hey, Eric, I want you to look at this. I want you to see what I'm seeing, and it's a click of a button. So we find it helpful just when we're collaborating, trying to get answers quickly instead of emailing files back and forth and those types of things. So very helpful tool for us personally.
Yeah, and that's the main thing there. You use the word collaborative, and that's what this is meant to do, is really quick collaboration, not having to engage a full-on conference bridge or some sort of web sharing portal. It's a very powerful tool within here to use. Also within, particular user accounts, especially internally, you will see if certain features are available. Some of these might not be turned on for your particular organization or system, but there are things like, if you are a good example would be a contact center supervisor or a work group supervisor. If we've turned on certain features like whisper paging, silent monitor, silent coaching, barge in, these are features that are more geared towards things like that. So this would be how a really quick way of getting to those features is using the Quick Dialer application, expanding that person's account, and then accessing those features there. There's another one here, alert when available. This is a helpful one that a lot of individuals may not even know is there in Connect Client. But if I wanted to know when Eric got off his next phone call, because I have to call him, I see he is on the phone, I would like to be notified. Selecting this will allow me to get a notification through the Connect Client. The second he disconnects from his call, it will notify me.
Yeah, I think that feature used to be called Camp On in some of the older PBX services, so it's similar to the Camp On feature.
Yeah, it was called Alert when available inside of the call communicator, the 14.2 and previous. It was just a lot easier to find inside of some of the windows there, so good to kind of see where some of these things are. Now, the way that I've gotten to these contacts are through the Quick Dialer, but there is actually a contact window here, and this is more geared towards setting up groups, especially internally, and also adding favorites that you would, add via like Outlook, for example. So, just as a kind of just me as a trainer, me using the system, I tend to just stay over in the groups setting, and this is where I'm using my my internal listing of individuals that I talk to on a regular basis. So what I've done for mine, and what I encourage a lot of users to do, is create subgroups inside of the organization. And what this allows you to do is allows you to expand and contract certain groups. So if I wanted to see just certain people, I can do that. So really quick, easy way of doing this is I'm going to add a group, and I'm just going to call this training. All right, and then here you can drag or type a name. So if I wanted to add Eric Bowling in here, I can do that, and I'll add myself. So now I've created my new training group. Very easy to do. As you saw, just created a name and then typed in my users, and then it accesses my directory. And you'll notice that when I'm using this, it's going to also pull up some it's going to pull up some people that might not be internal, and a good way of seeing that is I had a contact, Eric Marshall, that's actually a personal contact of mine. You'll notice that this is a gray icon. Eric Bowling, I have his cell phone in there, so that will come in as a gray contact as well. Now, going through these and editing these groups, pretty easy. You notice I just, there's a little kind of toggle button or kind of settings here. Through these groups inside of the Connect client, I can start chat with these two individuals and then do a group chat. I can schedule a meeting through here, and this will sync up with my Outlook program, and schedule a meeting through there. And then also I can send just a group voicemail real quick. Adding members to this group is very easy as well. So I can do edit group, type the name of the person I'd like to put in here, and save that. Okay, I can even go through there and change the name of the group as well. What's great about this window, it's kind of the window that I keep up on a regular basis, and a way to do that is to use this icon up here. When I have this window up, I actually keep it pinned, and it's a setting that it'll remember. So when I bring up contacts, it's going to stay up there. And the reason I do that is because, I need to see, is Eric available? Depending on your settings internally, this might show full caller ID. It might not. Our system does. It tells me he's available, which his first setting is his available on the actual phone itself. We use instant messaging, so his IM is available. So if I wanted to send him a message right now, I could. So I could, right click on here. I could send him a message. I could dial him. You'll see I still have my alert when available, which is a setting inside of the group window. So all those options are available to me. Okay.
And it is important to note too, I believe, that these settings are configurable. You don't have to allow people to see the caller ID of other people. Sometimes individuals will see that and say, well, I don't want people to know who I'm speaking with.
Correct.
So those are configurable. You can hide those features. We just have them turned on for all of our employees as part of our just transparent communication and collaboration culture.
Yeah, and for those that are administrators on this call today, if you are an administrator through the Connect Director, for example, this is a setting that would be a user group setting. So I could put certain people into groups that don't show full caller ID to the rest of the organization. So it's good for really large organizations. There might be a CEO or a president or some individual that does not want people to see when they're available, and it's even a setting where I can pull them completely out of the directory. So again, this is a user setting. You might click on your Connect client right now, like Eric just mentioned. Based off your settings, you might go to this individual and not see all this information. It might just say on the phone. It might not even tell you how long he's been on the phone. So again, just keep that in mind. All right, moving into the Recents tab. This one's pretty straightforward. This shows you your recent call history. I can expand this and look at, if I wanted to look at all of my calls with Eric Bowling, right? This again is the same window I saw if I typed out his name and brought it out here. This is the same exact window that we're going to see. But what you notice is because I'm in the Recents tab, when I click on Eric Bowling's name here, it's going to show straight to the call tab inside of this account. So these are all of my calls with it. I can see my routing slips, things of that nature, what type of call it was, how long the call was, all that good stuff. Okay. And again, you can group this by missed calls or all calls. You can search by just Eric Bowling's name if you need to. If you were trying to find a call within your last call history, the call history we're seeing here, I believe, is the last 1,000 calls, both incoming, outgoing, missed calls as well. Now, if you wanted to export your call data from here, there is an option for this. Now, I don't want to speak on some of the features that you might see in here, just as an FYI, depending on the version of code that you're on, there may not be some features here, and I can't recall. Exporting call data might have been not available on some really early versions, but the version we're running in-house, this is exportable. I can look at today, last week, last month, and export this to a CSV file if needed. So just keep that in mind. Now, for each individual record, you can right-click on it. You can add this as a contact via Outlook. So if you wanted to add caller ID to this particular phone call, you can, or you can copy this to the clipboard, paste the number into here, things like that. This right here is important because this caller ID right here, again, for some administrators, this call ID information that we're looking at, this is, if you ever have to look for some what we call a call GUID, this is actually very important for those that ever have to put in support tickets. That call ID that I just clipped, that is actually my call GUID. So keep that in mind, that's a really quick, easy way of getting that information. Voicemails. Your voicemail window, this has been a pretty prevalent window through all iterations of the communicator, call manager, Connect client software. So we do a visual voicemail here. So if I wanted to listen to it, I click on the message, hit play. You have two options here of whether to use your desk phone or your computer speakers. So I could, hit play there and play the voicemail if I wanted to. All right. I can forward this message. I can save this message. I can delete this message, things of that nature. All right. So really, really easy, quick way of doing this. You also have saved messages. If you have voicemails in there that are saved, unheard if you haven't listened to something, and again, all of your voicemails. All right, message. Your message history is through here. I can, look at my most recent messages if I wanted to. This is also where you're going to get if you get a notification for a voicemail, or I'm sorry, and it's a message that's going to come through here. So if somebody sends you a brand new voicemail, or I'm sorry, I keep saying voicemail, instant message, that's going to come through here. And sure enough, Eric Bowling just sent me a message and said hello. I can respond through here. You didn't see the notification, but it came up on a different screen for me. You will get pop-up notifications for that, and then I can respond through there. All right. And you will notice through the Connect client, depending on how you're using it, you'll see this pane a lot. So this Eric Bowling pane that I first accessed through the Quick Dialer application, which is up here, it kind of follows me everywhere, right? So right now, when I come into messages, I go to messages. When I access this voicemail, it comes through here. If I go through the recent with calls, it came through this particular tab. When I just did a straight through with the searching capability on the Quick Dialer, it defaults to the information tab. So kind of each little pane here gives you a different tab inside of your information with Eric. So it is very tightly integrated as far as knowing which part you're trying to access. The last tab you're going to see through here is going to be your events tab. This is by far one of my, when this thing is integrated tightly through your Outlook within the Connect client, within the Connect client program, this is one of the best things that ShoreTel/Mitel did as far as kind of reintegrating this. So you'll notice that I had a meeting at 10 o'clock. There was no information there. Tonight I have a meeting that allows me to call directly in because this was created through our internal conference bridge. So I can literally just click this button, dial in. I can join screen sharing through there as well. And then any other, meeting I've accepted, if it's inside of the conference bridge, I will see an option here to actually join through there. Other meetings that I might have that are non-conference bridge created, I will still get all my information that I would have gotten through Outlook directly in the overview. So it makes it very, very easy to join your meetings. Just as an FYI, this is pretty much how I join all my meetings. So very, very intuitive tool. Through here, you can also create new events. This will jump into the conference bridge portion. So if I wanted to do a test meeting, it makes it very easy to create new meetings. We call this, web-based. If you want to use the bridge you've been assigned, you can, or it will create a brand new one for you. Okay. And then if you wanted to add attendees, you can do that and hit create. This will automatically create an Outlook invitation through the Outlook system. And then you'll be able to add your attendees through there. So kind of this is how this looks like. All right, so if I wanted to send this to, Eric Bowling, I could do that and then send that message or send that meeting. You'll notice that this automatically imports it to my events tab. So in 22 minutes, I'll have this web-based meeting that I just assigned. And again, here's my dial-in info. It used my personal conference bridge. But one of the things I do recommend is that you just let the bridge assign a brand new code for that. Have it create one so people don't have access to your bridge at all times. So internally that might be okay, but for external meetings, I would advise allowing the bridge to give you your own code for that meeting. It will only be available during that window from 11:45 to 12:15. Normally that thing will open up about 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time so organizers can get in. And then once that meeting's over, it does give a little bit of time after the meeting's over to stay online. After that, the code will be deleted from the system. So pretty cool tool there.
Yeah, one of the ways I use that conference bridge, there's sort of two ways to think about it. Brand new meetings with brand new people, I can create those meetings just like Eric demonstrated on the screen here. What I've also done is I have created a reservationless conference bridge that is my personal conference bridge. And I have set it up so that it only will activate when I join. So I'm the only one with the leader code. And so what that allows me to do is if I have an impromptu conference that I need to spin up with one of my customers or a partner, some other organization, I actually created a signature in my email client that is called Conference Bridge. So when I type a brand new email to someone who is outside of my organization and I need to spin up a quick call that is just my personal reservationless conference call, I will select the signature of Conference Bridge. It populates that information immediately and then allows me to essentially have that conference call in an ad hoc fashion. It is my personal one. I know the code, and I can quickly send that to a lot of folks. So it just streamlines it for people who do lots of conference calls if they want their own personal one. And you can configure those settings so that nobody can use it unless you join with the leader code and you're the only one with the leader code. So it's just another way to navigate and utilize that tool that's built right in.
Yep. And again, kind of one of the things I've been talking about is that why this is one of my favorite kind of upgrades with the Connect platform is how easy it is to access the conference bridge. Back in the 14.2 days and previous, you'd have to, go into different platforms and web browsers to get to all this. So it does make it a lot more integrated. So if you're not using the conference bridge, that's why it's a very critical component to the Connect client. So, all right. Last thing you will see down here to the left is your current active calls. I am currently in this particular call here, which is the bridge we're using for this meeting. You'll notice when I click open this call box down here, this does bring up a pane. This allows me to mute my line on this particular call. It allows me to share my screen to this number if that was available. I have a call recording turned on internally. I can do a simple one-to-one call recording from here. I can add a participant, which would be just your ad hoc conferencing. So I could type in, a name here to my blind conference, consulting conference, which should be pretty straightforward. And then I also have the ability of transferring as well. And depending on what type of transfers you have turned on, you will get different ones. Again, we kind of turn on everything here. So I have a blind transfer, a consult transfer. I can do an intercom transfer, which will be a directed intercom straight to Eric Bowling's phone. I can park and transfer, I can do a whisper transfer, or I can transfer straight to voicemail. One thing that I know was difficult for a lot of end users previous to Connect was transferring to voicemail. There's like about 2 steps that you needed to do to get there. For here, it's a single step. You open up your transfer window, type your name, and the option is already there for you. So a lot easier in this system as it was in other systems. And the last thing you can do here is you can move the call. So if I wanted to move this call,
I think
didn't mean to do that, but
moved his call.
I actually moved you to hold, but the moving call option, I did not mean to do that, but the moving call allows me to move this straight to a cell phone if I needed to for an external trunk-to-trunk transfer. And this will only be available if your organization allows trunk-to-trunk transferring, which is a setting that we can enable and disable within the Director Administrator portal. But moving calls is just moving it. So like, let's say I'm on this call and I got to get in my car and get home. I can move this call. So
yeah, I utilize that feature a lot. I utilize that feature a lot when I'm migrating between meetings, right? If I don't want to end a call that I'm on presently, I can simply move it to my cell phone. It's seamless to the other caller. As soon as so I hit the button, I get up and I walk out, my cell phone rings, I answer the phone, and I continue the conversation. Too many times previously you would hear something like, hey, hang up, I'll call you back, right? I don't want to do that. I need to get in my car and start driving to my next appointment or driving home late in the evening or what have you, but I don't want to end our conversation. So it makes it nice and easy to just seamlessly transfer that. You don't have to interrupt the caller, and it allows you to do that pretty quickly.
Yep. And something you didn't see is that it was trying to transfer it straight to my previously programmed external, I have an external cell phone number that is already programmed, which we're going to see here in a second. But that move feature automatically tries to send it to that phone call, or to that device. So I actually had that in my hand. I was able to, if I wanted to, I could answer it, but I did not. So pretty powerful tool there. All right, so last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into kind of some of the settings here underneath the Connect option. There's 2 ways of getting to user settings. You can click the gear icon and it will bring up your settings window, but I tend to try to do this through here just because there are some things that you can do. There are training videos that the Connect client will actually link you to. Very helpful for some of your newer users that come on that didn't get the benefit of training at any point. There's also user guides that are coded to their particular version of the client. And then there's also another tool here for if you are an administrator, for example, and you have a user complaining about certain an issue within their client or having issues with it, this will open up a client log that they can send straight to you. So you can send client logs as well. But what I want to spend our kind of last 10 minutes here is going into the settings that an individual user can go into. So starting here, there's a very finite set of options here, starting with the account. This shows me where I'm connected to as far as my, what server I'm using and my username. If it's not an AD kind of scenario, they can change their password here. There's some options here for some just various things about Mitel. If you have like anonymous data, you can turn that off or on. There's also something here that if you've got a buddy at work and you might be sick one day, I can actually grant somebody the ability to change my availability state within the client. So, for example, availability states are located here. We have available, in a meeting, out of office, on vacation, do not disturb. You can have somebody change those statuses for you. So you can call your buddy or text your buddy and say, hey, I'm sick, can you change my status to out of the office? that's where we'll give that person access to it. And
we
then
find
your
that
AD
a lot of
credentials.
times in sort of like an executive administrative assistant of some sort, or an office admin who manages a user who is very mobile and lots of meetings and those types of things. So they can have access to change that for someone, generally in sort of an administrative assistant type role, or maybe a paralegal in a law office, where someone is potentially managing multiple people within as an assistant for multiple people. So gives them the ability to act on their behalf.
Yep. Now, the section that I think most people would like to see and is where a lot of end users spend their time is actually call routing. I'm not going to go crazy in depth here, but I'm just going to start with, for example, my available status. So my available status is what I'm currently in now. And you'll notice there's a couple different tabs for routing. There's availability, and then there's power routing. Availability routing specifically speaks to the availability state that you're currently in. So right now I'm in available, and this shows me what that particular available state is doing. So I have set up, this is how I have it. Its incoming calls are routed to my desk phone. No other phones are set to ring. I have 5 rings before it goes to voicemail. I do have a recorded voicemail. Callers are allowed to leave a voicemail, and then I have set an option for pressing 0. The call gets forwarded to 7232, which is our front desk administrative assistant phone. Now, you can change each individual step of this, or for users who are not as savvy, there's a wizard that's going to send you straight into every single setting. So, for example, I could say, it's ringing my extension, but I also want it to ring my cell phone, and we have a mobility client. I can have it ring there as well. So next thing you'll notice, as you go through here, it's going to show you what each setting is. It's already been changed. If not, forward my cell to my voicemail if I wanted to. I can go as high as 20 rings. I don't recommend that, but I can now change that to 6. Hit next. I can record a new greeting, or just go ahead and play what my existing one is. So I can see what it currently says. Okay. If I want to change that, I can do that straight through here. Next, I can tell callers whether or not to leave, I can give the ability to leave voicemails or not. No, it seems like a silly setting, but for someone who's going to be out, let's say you're having a surgery or something, or you're going to be out of the country for a couple months or whatever, you might want to set up a greeting, maybe an extended absence one, on vacation, out of office, that just plays a greeting that tells them what's going on with your particular extension, but doesn't give them the ability to leave voicemails. One thing people might not want to come back to is 100 voicemails if they've got an ability to have that many from a long absence. So you have the option there. And then each individual user has the ability to use what we call the personal operator option, which is if they press 0, it can forward their calls to another extension. This would need to be something you put in the greeting. So my greeting currently does say, you've reached Eric, leave a message, or press 0 for the operator, and then it sends it off to that individual. And again, that operator doesn't have to be an operator per se. It can be whoever might be your kind of backup person in your department that enables you, that has access to take your calls. So then I hit save, and you'll see I did make a change, which is I now have 6 rings, and then I've set it up to ring my cell phone if needed. All right. Now, that was just the available status. I do have an out of office, which people will use for vacation. You'll notice the color next to it is red. That's because it is set to do no other phones ring, and all calls are routed immediately to voicemail. So this is set up as a do not disturb. Again, once you get familiar with this, you don't have to use the start wizard. If I'm going on vacation and I want to override my previous vacation greeting, I hit record. I'm just recording my new greeting, and I'm hitting save. So pretty easy to use there. Your power routing, This can be dangerous. If used well, it can be very powerful. You can create rules. There's not a lot of options here, but I can do like when a number matches, or if it's the time is, if I want it from midnight to 8 a.m. Okay, for my calls straight to voicemail. I can create that rule for myself. So you can also set this up. If it's 5 o'clock from 5 to 8, always send calls to my voicemail. You can do that. There's also options.
I've used this in the past when I go on vacation. If my boss calls me, I want to go ahead and forward that to my cell phone so that I get the call and not drop them into voicemail. So you can set it up at each of the availability states to say, okay, if the number matches my corporate office, or maybe you're waiting for a call. I've got a bunch of kids at my house, and I remember when my wife was pregnant. If I was in a meeting or out of the office, I had a rule set up that says if I get a call from her cell phone, automatically ring my cell phone, just to make sure I was getting notified if she, was making an early trip to the hospital when she was pregnant. So lots of different ways you can utilize the power routing to have the general population navigate how you want them to navigate through the system, but making exceptions for people as necessary.
Yep. Or if you just never want to talk to Eric Bowling again, I can say if the number is Eric Bowling for my calls to voicemail, and I can create that rule. So see, there's some flexibility there.
That's powerful too. Yeah. Hopefully nobody.
That's very powerful. It's also a career limiting event, so we don't want to do that. This one has been helpful for if you don't have any kind of program that blocks certain spam numbers or people that are possibly harassing you at your personal line. This is a powerful tool that I've seen used in various ways where I can block a number from calling me. There are organizations that I've worked with. They actually create an auto attendant that plays, you have been forwarded to the IPC Technology spam line. Have a nice day. And then it just disconnects them. So if you've got people that have got a certain number and you don't want to engage the carrier, for example, to do the blocking for you, which can get pricey, you can use the Connect client to enable that for you. Voicemail tab, not a ton here. The one thing that I do, I can change my password, my default voicemail greeting for my name, which is just my recorded name. There is an option here for Outlook. You can turn off Outlook integration, which is just, by default, it's turned on. I can turn that off at any time. And there is a section for escalation profiles. If you're not using that, no, I wouldn't get too terribly worried about that. And some messaging, only thing in here is for canned IM responses if you are using instant messaging. I'm going to skip over video, go to Outlook. Your Outlook integrations, there is a Exchange calendar integration with availability modes. I know a ton of people, this is a 50-50 shot thing here. Some people love their availability to change with their calendar, others do not. I am one of them. If you have this turned on, what it will do is, based off your events tab over here, it's going to change you into in a meeting every time a meeting on your calendar comes in. Others love it, swear by it. So if you want to keep that on, checkbox that, you'll do that checkbox here. There is your contact synchronization here as well. You can sync your contacts or you can remove them completely. If you don't want your contacts synced, that's where you'll turn that off. Notifications, the one biggie here for most users is you're sending a WAV file as an attachment for received voicemails. This is what I use. This is the only, pretty much, I know there's a visual voicemail window in the client. I tend to just, listen to my voicemails inside of my email as WAV files. The reason I do that is because I'm a mobile user for the most part. I do a lot of traveling. So I will check voicemails in my email on my phone as a WAV file. And the other thing that I do, since I do travel, is marking the voicemail as heard. So The second I get a voicemail, I automatically mark it as heard. And then I've got some automatic deletion settings set up for myself that automatically delete heard voicemails after 30 days. So it keeps my mailbox clean. There are sounds here. You'd be surprised, and users get really into their sound notifications inside of their instant messenger or for incoming calls, so on and so forth. But it will show you, the options here. We have options for new voicemails, calls from internal, calls external. A lot of these are just default, but you can turn those off or on if you need to. And then pop-ups, which people live and die by. You can determine what kind of pop-ups you receive via the client, incoming calls, incoming IMs, voicemails, or screen sharing. I do recommend these staying on. You can change kind of the ability of like how long an actual pop-up is going to stay on. So that's pretty much all the end user can do through the client. Moving into the desk phone, nothing real here. You can change ringtones. Again, people are obsessed with ringtones, so you can change those through here. That is a setting that can be changed on the phone itself, but it just gives you the ability through here. Soft phone, don't worry about that. You do have soft phone. The only thing you're really going to concern yourself with here is how you turn that on, which is, again, through the main extension/name tab. All right, telephony, not telephony, just making sure we have that all clear. Just shows you what you're kind of using for dial out prefixes. You can do things like suppressing dial tone, suppressing call waiting tone. Some people don't like those individuals. Those options. Those that don't are call center agents, work group agents, people that are on the phone consistently, don't turn their headsets off. They're really into suppressing dial tones and also call waiting tones. And language, I think all of us are on the same language. That's not really applicable to everyone. So that covers our settings in here. So look at that. It's 11:45. Exactly 45 minutes. Everything is covered. So now what we'll do is we're going to, I know. So now we're going to open this up for questions. Eric, did you have any questions that got sent through?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I'm going to look at some here. So there was a question from someone. They said, we are currently on 14.2, which is a previous version for those who are not familiar with that. And they said, this looks much different than our existing client. How do we upgrade? How do we train users? What's sort of the process for going to this new solution? So I'll take the first half of that question. So the 14.2 upgrade to Connect is part of your support contract with IPC. Included in that is what we refer to as software subscription. So if your company has a current warranty support agreement with us, that software it comes as part of that solution. It is a different client, and so we want to make sure that we understand your user community, who will use the features that Eric just shared with us, who will maybe not use it, right? We still sell telephones. You don't need this application, but you can see that it's very powerful. And for the people who want to really embrace the collaboration aspect of it, it's got a lot of efficiencies and value to bring. So the upgrade is just it's a project that gets spun up. We assess the versions that you're on, your infrastructure. We do sort of a discovery phase to make sure that it will be a clean move to the new platform. Sometimes there are hardware updates, other times there are not. Just depends on what you have in your existing infrastructure, but you have the software, and so that's just part of that. So if you're interested in migrating to 14.2, please from 14.2 to Connect. Most of our existing customers know that we've been sort of helping folks do that over the past, but if you were one that are still on the 14.2, we can discuss that. There was a question here, Eric. You had mentioned a mobility client, and is that included as well? So I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so there is a mobility client that's out there. If you've navigated to an app store, either iTunes, Google Play, there is a mobility application out there. As part of this, just the base environment of Connect Client, it is not something that's in there. That would actually have to be a purchased item of the mobility router. Well, and actually in the Connect, it's an edge gateway that we would be using there, and a mobility router, kind of a couple pieces there. So that'd be something that if you were interested in looking into, a truly mobile workforce with the mobility router, I would shoot your sales rep an email, or contact somebody here at our customer success center, and then get you to the right person to kind of speak about that as part of an addition to your system.
Yeah, and I believe that some of the client licenses already include mobility access to, from
Yes.
a licensing standpoint. In many cases, it's just that infrastructure that's required, the mobility router or the edge gateway, that allows us that border security to facilitate that. We have a session coming up later in our training series that does include the mobile client and how to navigate the mobile workforce, and so we'll be able to speak more in depth on that as well. To Eric's point, if you do have a question, maybe you don't know who your sales rep is, you can send an email to issuereport@ipctech.com, and that will go directly to our Customer Success Center. You can also visit us at ipctech.com on our website and see the contact information is there as well if you want to get in touch with us to explore some of these further. Let's see. Last question looks like, can I have access to this recorded session? Yes, we will. We will provide links to the folks who attended in order so that if you would like to share this with other people in your organization, you can do so. Maybe create a lunch and learn session where you want to have folks watch and get some additional training on their Connect client. We will provide that as well. Okay, let me see. It doesn't look like there are any other questions. So, as a former colleague of mine used to say, there's no penalty for ending a meeting early. And so, let's see. There is. This question came on. Okay. Yes, thank you. How hard is it to turn on the chat feature, and is there an extra cost? So, Eric, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, there's no, there is, the only thing that would need to be purchased would be you can do a physical, it's a service appliance app, a piece of equipment that can be added onto the system, or it can be virtualized. And with the chat portion, that as soon as you spin that up, that is something that is completely just turned on by assigning users to the IM functionality. From a licensing perspective, there's no cost associated there. The cost would come in is if you wanted to use some of the screen sharing applications. So if you don't purchase any of the audio web licenses that are bundled together from Mitel, then you would not be able to engage some of that really cool screen sharing functionality that you would have on just a one-to-one call. So it's pretty easy to spin up, pretty easy to get configured. And then depending on how you want to use it, if you want to be able to use it externally, things like that, we would need to be able to deploy that into an IP range that would allow access to the outside world. But pretty straightforward to stand up for us, though.
Yeah. So the chat feature in the client is there's no charge for the client aspect of it. It's just the infrastructure to manage the presence for that. It's a service appliance. It is a one-time purchase for our customers who are on the Connect platform already, and put that infrastructure in place. And then when you assign users, you simply enable who has access to that new feature, and it's instantly available in the Connect client. So fairly straightforward with a little bit of infrastructure change internally, but quick and easy to get to that level. Good question. Okay. Doesn't look like we have any more questions, so no penalty for ending a meeting early. Everybody, go ahead, and if you're on the East Coast, you can take your lunch early. If you're in Europe, you're probably heading home for dinner soon, and if you're on the left coast, you're just having breakfast. So, I appreciate everybody attending today's session. There will be an email sent out with this recorded link, and we thank you for your partnership and with IPC Technologies, and look forward to our next session. Please tune in. We're doing these twice a month, and each session will be different topics associated with different technologies and areas that we help our customers with. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Bye.